Hello, my name is Bryce Thompson. Welcome to Colonial Williamsburg and Colonial Williamsburg Ghost Tours. Williamsburg has seen many things, including life, and of course, with life, death. It's seen the wars of both the Native Americans, the Civil War, and the Revolutionary War. Williamsburg is a place to bring up the great American spirit and its legends and tales, from the most usual normal history stories to the gruesome, tragic, and horrific events. And I welcome you to join me on this journey. In front of me, we have the precious gem. Now, at first, it did not start out as a jewelry store. It belonged to it was the house of a man named Thomas More. Thomas More inherited the house when his brother died in the Civil War, along with his money and riches. And one of the riches was this building, being before that of a jewelry store. And Thomas More was a very flirtatious man, a very handsome man, wore a long beard, mustache, top hat, and very nice, eligible suit. And Thomas More really loved to be a flirtatious man and a ladies' man. In fact, there was one lady he had very good pairing with, that being of Constance Hall. Him and Constance would travel all of Williamsburg together, hand in hand, join in at parties, but there was only one problem. Constance Hall was already married. Mr. Hall hears about it. The only great thing he's not doing anything for it is because the fact he is away at business meetings. So, Mr. Hall is having none of this. So he decides to go to the Thomas More home. What does he do when he goes to Thomas More? Kicks open the door and he beats him to literal death. Now, I don't know if you know this, but it is not the easiest thing to kill a man with your bare hands. Yet he does it. So, Mr. Hall leaves, but before leaving, he remembers something. There is a dead body within, and he needs help moving it. So, who does he call other than the sweetheart of his and the one who is intertwined? Thomas More. Good old Constance Hall. Yes, the own mistress. So, they discard of the body and could have gotten away with it scot-free. Could have. Because they did not know about the nosy neighbors and the fact they still had the door kicked in. No one knew where Thomas More went. So, investigations, they find out that Constance and Mr. Hall was here before the disappearance of Thomas More. Of course, they question him, and he pleads guilty. But before doing this, he has a small sort of passion, of some love, they call it. He declares for Constance to have complete innocence, that she did nothing in this state. It was all him. So, she goes free. Some call it heroic, and I call it rather stupid, but not about me. Mr. Hall is sent away to prison till death, and Constance disappears. She tries hiding away because, of course, she was a married woman, engaging with a Another man not being her husband. So she has to quarrel and go away because she can't stay around here since everyone has a bad name on her list. But she completely disappears out of the system. No one knows what happened to her. And that would be just a story. But one of the managers, before closing this establishment, notices a man at the door. And the man looks in, but she's about to close, so she says, "I'm sorry, we're closing for the day, come back later." And, well, he doesn't leave, he sticks around, so he's not leaving. So she hides away, calls security, and he's gone. Well, when they ask to describe this man, she says it was a man, pale, with a top hat, and a thick mustache, matching that of Thomas More himself. In fact, Thomas More's ghost can be seen walking these streets. You can see him in the reflection of here. He's even being seen at the bookstore of William and Mary. So, women, if you pick up your device to scan for anything, more than likely you'll get a reading. Men, not so much. Because it's the women that are Thomas More's precious gem. Welcome to the Bruton Parish Church, constructed in 1715 and still used to this very day. This church has seen its accounts of the holy and unholy, from tales of admiration to heartbreak. In fact, one story I really enjoy myself is the tale of Reverend Jones and his lovely wife. Now, his wife died of a disease that many caught back in the day, known as tuberculosis, or TB. And on her deathbed, of course, it gets quite tragic. He pronounces his undying love for her, as she does to him. It is romantic and godly. Cries out that he'll never, ever love anyone as much as he loved her, and that nothing will feel the same without her, that his life will not be complete. It's so sad and inspiring. Now, when she passes, he goes quite the distance to go and get her tomb, the gravestone. And her spirit is seen wandering among the grave, patiently waiting for her husband to return. But there's only one problem. Somebody wasn't so patient, as he brings home something unexpected, to which I'd love for anyone to guess which that may be. It is a new wife. A much younger new wife. So, of course, the spirit of Miss Jones is heartbroken as she wanders the graves, crying and sobbing at night for what her dear, black-hearted beloved has done, married off another woman. Even though that new wife dies only a couple years after, dies before him. And it's not just her spirit that can be seen walking these graves. In fact, this is the home of soldiers who died at war. They can also, too, be seen Walking the graves. I was right when I said Williamsburg was a living graveyard, wasn't I? In fact, you could be walking on a tomb you do not know of right now. Another fun thing about this church, this is where our founding fathers also worshiped. Thomas Jefferson, George Washington. So, another fun story. George Tucker. Now, you might be asking yourself, who is George Tucker? And why do I care? Well, George Tucker is a famous writer. He goes on a magazine, enters his stuff from poems, stories, playwrights, everything imaginable of the writing artist who hungers for more. And he goes up the ranks. And he gets a pen pal. A very famous pen pal. One who is very, very high ranking of the American Writers Association. And can you guess who that is? Well, I'll give you a hint. He is a man who is nevermore. That is right. His pen pal is none other than the young child Edgar Allan Poe. And George Tucker believes his horror stories are a little bit too childlike, and that he should move on to other great foundations, which thankfully he doesn't. He used to say, George Tucker dies, along with Edgar Allan Poe, and something magical happens. Well, the anniversary of his death, that being Edgar Allan Poe, a nice big black storm approaches over Williamsburg. Lightning and rain. In fact, one lightning bolt hits down on that very monument you see right here. And it leaves the symbol look of a skull's face. Yes. Saw it once, and now you'll never unsee it. Now, of course, this could be just some strange, unusual occurrence that has nothing really big on it, but however, we do send someone from the Smithsonian here to try to fix it up. And she does. She fixes it up. The skull goes completely gone for only a couple hours, and she comes back to see it back again. Well, what does this mean? Well, some people believe it is George Tucker's symbol that he cannot escape death, but I like to believe it's a very dark, humorous joke from that of Edgar Allan Poe. But of course, there's been some more hauntings among this church. A very late night, security guards were walking, patrolling as they must, and they see a figure with red eyes and an elongated neck, and it runs to the church and they run away in fear. In fact, some people still see it today. In fact, if you walk this very halls at night, you'll hear the organ being played, with no one playing it. So, I guess in death, that's one musical way to have your life played. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. One of the most haunted houses on the eastern seaboard. Ladies and gentlemen, I present you the Peyton Randolph House. Now, this was constructed and built in 1750 and given to Peyton Randolph, passed down to Peyton Randolph. Peyton Randolph being that of the cousin to Thomas Jefferson. And, well, the Randolphs don't have the best of history. In fact, the wife isn't very kind, especially not to that of the slaves. Excruciating pains, torture, pretty mean woman. But the British start a war with America, and they give a promise to the slaves that if you join us, you fight along our side. When we win, you will be free, which sounds like the most amazing deal ever, until you forget the fact the British did not win this war. And the slaves have to go back to where they were before. Including that of a slave that lived here, named Eve. Eve was Miss Randolph's head slave. So, they highly punished her. How he treated her horribly. They even, when Miss Randolph passes, she is sold away from her family, including that of her young child. And it's said that she cursed the house. But it's also believed that since it is on Indian construction, that it is cursed by Indian spirits. I'm not just talking about any Indian graves. Not one body, not two body, but oh, so many more. Now, of course, the Randolphs sell the home to a family known as the Peaches, and, of course, not taken well. In fact, one of the people staying here, Mark Lafayette, very famous person, very highly looked upon person, is told to stay here. He does, but before he does, he has a nice, well, not so very nice welcome. For he feels a push at him before he enters the house. By some mysterious way, Mr. Lafayette can't even sleep, as he hears whispering throughout the household, especially a couple outside of his door. Well, they start whispering, then they get really louder and screaming, and he's hearing all these screams among the house, and shaking and rattling and footsteps. Well, of course, he's not going to leave a 5-star review. In fact, he doesn't even want to come back to this house. In fact, he wants to leave Colonial, Virginia. But they just take him to the president's house and he stays there. Happy ending for Mr. Lafayette. However, the Peaches children are not so lucky. The son is a very adventurous young boy. Decides to climb this very tall tree you see above me. And he climbs high. But he decides he's not high enough. So he climbs higher. And higher. And higher. To the point he is so high. He is filled with such love and grace for the world. He sees all around him to the point he does not notice there is a very giving limb below him. And he gives away. And the poor child breaks his neck during the fall. So Miss Peachy comes out, very pained, and takes her son to the bed, try to get some help, but the poor son is lost, dead. But that's not just the only Peachy child that's, well, that's unscathed. For the daughter, during the time, is taking her little bicycle and is roaming around the house, driving it around, having the time of her life, until she hits a certain wood that leads a splinter. And it wouldn't be just bad enough to hit a splintered piece of wood and hurt yourself. She goes flying through that exact window. In fact, falls, he of course dies, but it is seen her spirit can be seen flying through again. Yeah. We're done with the sad history. Well, the sad history that stays in the past. The sad history, I do not know what will come of it. But of course, this house has its current hauntings. Sorry. See, the Peyton Randolph house is also known as the gateway to hell. For it has seen many spirits through that very window. In fact, you may be even able to take a picture afterwards. And for some reason, your phone will just randomly die or freeze. True story. In fact, one security guard was not so lucky in 1970. For as he's going on patrol, he's hearing the voices and screamings and weird positions, and he hears something in the basement. And of course he goes in the basement because he is a security guard and he has to do his job. Until he feels a grab at his leg and is stuck in position in the basement. And he's screaming, crying out in pain and fear. And as much as he wants to get out, the basement door will not open. So they open the door. Well, he calls for backup, and backup comes in and opens the door, and he flies out and quits day of course, as any sane man would. Not only that, a little while before that, it was even a dorm for the William and Mary students. For when it was overfilled, they would just come here. But they didn't like coming here because, of course, anyone who comes to this house during the night will hear the screams, moans, footsteps, and all the above. In fact, no one owns this house currently. House is used for tours, scary attractions like this current one right now. But you take a picture of this window, you may see a specter or two. You may see something fun. Because, well, this house really does not like getting picture taken. So, have a shot. See what you find. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to our final spot for the night. Ladies and gentlemen, I present the Kimball Theater. Kimball Theater was built in 1935 and became the first air-conditioned theater in Virginia. Now, of course, before it was a theater, it was just a regular house owned by a regular family back in the Civil War. And at this very sad spot is a story of great tragedy of two brothers, two different sides. During the event of the Civil War, we were in a mix. Union, Confederate, so Confederate soldier crawls his injured self all the way here to this very building and knocks on the door, pleading and begging for help. So the family that comes helps him. And they bring him up to the room to get his fixing. And they call the Union. But before the Union can even get there, the young Confederate soldier dies. But it all comes with a twist. You see, as the Union gets here, one of the Union members notices something very familiar about this soldier. And that being his younger brother. Now, of course, I know about you, but if you have a younger brother and he dies, you're of course going to be upset, so you do that. But not long after does the other brother die. And both spirits reunite at this very building, the Kimball Theater. And they have been known to be very mischievous, very fun. For in this bathroom of the Kimball Theater will randomly happen randomly. Both the toilets and faucets will go on and off, and banging will be heard throughout the stalls of the bathroom. And in fact, there's spirits of a Confederate soldier and a Union soldier phasing through can be seen. So, at least it can be said that their brotherhood was reunited here. And of course, they get to watch a show or two, so that's got to be some kind of fun. And ladies and gentlemen, if you are not coming on the extended tour, I bid you adieu, and I thank you for coming to Colonial Williamsburg Ghost. And be sure to rate your experience, comment. My name is Bryce Thompson, and once again, I thank you for joining us on this terrific, beautiful, lovely, and ghastly night. Thank you. Come again.